Guys, to all of you viewers of Equinoxe television, it's 6 p.m. by 6 o'clock. Welcome back from the weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Our major stories tonight: the Social Democratic Front political party says the ruling CPDM party and its leader can be booted out of power without any coalition in Cameroon. This was echoed during the national executive meeting on the party over the weekend in Yaoundé. The chairman of the party, Honorable Joshua Osei, thinks for a coalition to work in Cameroon, the party's concerned must have a convergent plan of action. We'll tell you more on what filtered from that next meeting in Yaoundé in this news edition. And the Anglophone crisis continues to affect the educational career of young English-speaking Cameroonians. More than a month after schools resumed across the national territory and even in some parts of the northwest and southwest regions, thousands of pupils and students are still to resume school in most villages, including the Coupe-Moninguba division of the southwest region. The SEO for that area made a stop at some villages to get first-hand information on what is happening. Details of that and more when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We begin this edition of the news in politics. The Social Democratic Front is laying the groundwork to transit Cameroon through a constitutional transformation to a nation where human rights, dignity, prosperity for all, national unity are upheld. This is a snapshot of the party's political agenda discussed during the National Executive Committee meeting last weekend in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Babila Jonathan has more details.
The Social Democratic Front SDF political party pressing towards a new and transformed Cameroon via a constitutional revision. The party expects all Cameroonians to put hands on deck for this to be achieved in 2025.
We hope they will endorse us so that we move towards a constitutional conference that will invite all Cameroonians to participate, to make sure we have a sound constitution that can bring rebirth to the social contract that used to be ours that has gone away through all this bad governance and so on.
SDF National Chairman Honorable Osei Joshua says the constitutional amendment will be the bedrock for the implementation of the federal system of governance in Cameroon.
We believe in federalism, and federalism is not about geography. Some people think federalism is to put Anglophones, separate Anglophones and Francophones. No. Federalism, as we see it, is a three-tier issue, not a two-tier issue. And in federalism, you talk about money, not about geography. Geography comes secondary. It's the money that matters. And we think that all money should be put at the level of councils, because councils develop us.
Federalism has been the option of the SDF for decades. It hopes to implement the federal governance system if the party's flag bearer emerges winner of next year's presidential election.
And still in politics, the new militants have been admitted into the Cameroon Renaissance Movement's political party in the Douala 1 and 5 cells. The members have pledged to join the party in advocating for the respect of human rights or the rights entirely of Cameroonians while working with other members in ensuring that the party comes out victorious in upcoming presidential elections. Immaculate Fogui has more.
New members being admitted into the Cameroon Renaissance Movement political party. Their desire to join the party was aired during the just-ended voters registration exercise that took place across the 10 regions of the country. The ceremony is taking place in Bisenge and Lokpom in the Douala 1 and 5 subdivisions, respectively.
Qui continue à travailler.
They should be rest assured that we will accompany them as they undertake this new journey. We'll have to put our heads together and see how we forge ahead. We are doing everything to encourage Cameroonians to register themselves on the electoral list come 2025.
Le vent de la Renaissance doit entrer dans chaque maison de Bisenge.
The new members have been called upon to bring fresh ideas that can help take the party to higher heights.
Mon idée, c'est d'assembler.
Our mission is to fight against injustice faced by Cameroonians. We are ready to help create awareness on this through sensitization campaigns. One of those present at the installation ceremony is Stefan So. He was amongst those CRM militants who were detained after a nationwide protest. While denouncing the fact that they were arrested unjustly, he expressed his determination and willingness to continue fighting for the rights of Cameroonians. A lot of people are surprised that, despite leaving prison, I didn't relent my efforts in sensitizing Cameroonians on the lapses of the regime. I remain even more determined than ever. The national president of the CRM party, Professor Maurice Kamto, is bent on having at least 2 million newly registered voters on the electoral list come 2025, a mission that the newcomers need to help him accomplish.
And now we continue to wonder about the whereabouts of President Paul Biya. The Constitution of Cameroon clearly spells out the circumstances, actors, and the procedures to ascertain a vacuum at the office of the President of the Republic. A legal mind says this strategic concern is handled by Part 4, Chapter 1 of the 1996 Constitution. For me, Armstrong Sander has the details.
Away from the social media jittery and postulations, the Constitution of Cameroon clearly defines the circumstances, actors, and the procedure that are certain that the office of the president is vacant.
Specifically, in its Article 6, Sub 4, which states clearly the office of the president of the republic is declared vacant as a result of death, resignation, or permanent incapacity ascertained by the Constitutional Council. Polls for the election of the new president of the republic shall be held not less than 20 days or not more than 120 days after the vacancy has been duly ascertained by the president of the Constitutional Council.
With the current context where the president of the Constitutional Council is appointed by the head of state, another curiosity among Cameroonians is to know who initiates the procedure to ascertain a presidential vacuum.
Article 6, Sub 4 states clearly, it is the Constitutional Council that shall ascertain the vacancy of the office of the president. Automatically means that the law has empowered the Constitutional Council and has given the Constitutional Council the exclusive right.
On the procedure, Barrister Anyang Lewis says the law is silent.
When the president of the Constitutional Council ascertains that the office of the president is vacant, the president of the Senate becomes the interim president of the Republic. If the president of the Senate is somehow having any incapacity or cannot perform that role, the first vice president of the Senate will play the role.
The Moliko Boya-based international human rights lawyer further insists that the right of Cameroonians to information is sacrosanct. These concerns have been growing among Cameroonians with the long stay out of President Paul Biya, who left Cameroon on September 2nd, 2024.
In other news, the Chinese hospital Navy ship known as the Peace Ark has left Cameroon today after its humanitarian mission. During its stay, Peace Ark consulted and treated close to 7,000 Cameroonians and patients from all over the country. This was disclosed by the governor of the Littoral region in Bonanjo during a farewell ceremony today. Innocent Aze was there. He now tells us more.
For 1 week, the Chinese Navy hospital ship Peace Ark that docks at the Douala seaport granted medical services to over 6,000 patients from all over Cameroon, suffering from diverse pathologies through this major humanitarian activity. Governor of the Littoral region, Samuel Jodene Ivahadzebois, during a goodbye ceremony, disclosed that the Chinese Peace Ark went above its targeted number. The Peace Ark previewed treating 600 patients daily for 7 days. It fulfilled its promise promised and even went above the number. For 7 days, it consulted and treated 6,812 patients. Amongst them, 20 were treated of glaucoma. The governor regrets the fact that limited time did not permit the Chinese Navy hospital ship to attend to thousands of patients from different parts of Cameroon. He hopes Peace Ark returns someday. While thanking you for coming to Cameroon, we implore you to envisage a period for a similar health mission. What will remain indelible is the deployment of his team of medical experts in different specialties in several hospitals in Douala and even orphanages as well as military camps. Immense thanks to the medical team for relieving Cameroonians from pathologies. The patients will forever be grateful. Working with the health personnel in the military, Lakintini, General, Gynecobstetric and Pediatric hospitals in Douala, earned experience to home medical staff. This transfer of competence and expertise between the Chinese and Cameroonian health experts could go a long way to pave way for reinforced cooperation ties in the domain of public health. The Chinese Navy hospital ship Peace Ark, giant in nature and heavily equipped, departed Cameroon to other African countries. Cameroon is the 48th nation visited by Peace Ark.
Now over to one of our big stories. The Anglophone crisis continues to affect the educational career of young English-speaking Cameroonians more than a month after schools resumed across the national territory and even in some parts of the northwest and the southwest regions. Thousands of pupils and students are still to resume school in most villages, including the Kupe Manunguba division. The senior divisional officer for that area made a stop over at some villages to get first-hand information, as Lucy Liengu tells us in the report which comes up next.
Since the start of the Anglophone crisis in the two English-speaking regions, many schools have closed due to violence or the direct targeting of educational institutions. In Konye subdivision, it was on the 10th of October that some schools resumed timidly for the new academic year.
To Konye, to tell to my own teachers, 0 francs, the end of the month, or your job.
During the tour of the senior divisional officer of Meme Division to schools in Konye subdivision, educational stakeholders and authorities debuted the challenges they are facing in having teachers and students in classrooms.
If on that first day we had some teachers to handle that 5, the other day they came 11, at least when the impression go back home that school has resumed, and it would have been better.
But to our greatest dismay, they will not teach us to put in place. I have evidence from them with some records about 20 children. They came to school here, they were not teachers.
The mayor of Konye, Mosma George, on his part, blamed parents for the poor turnout of students.
If their parents say go to school, they go to school. If they say don't go to school, they will not go to school.
Ntundong Chamberlain assured the people of an effective resumption.
I am here with the delegate of secondary and basic education. All the administrative staff, they are here present. As I said, new teachers have been transferred by the SU to those various schools yesterday.
To guarantee the safety of the people of Konye, a military base has been established according to the STO.
I've decided to intensify security in this subdivision. That's why you're having a new military base now in Konye that is going to take care of the security of staff, security of the population, security of our own children.
Close to 2 months, schools are still to effectively resume in 34 villages of Konye subdivision.
And still on the Anglophone crisis, about 4,200 civilians have been killed between 2017 and 2023, with over 2,600 of these deaths linked to atrocities committed by separatist fighters not living out the military. These figures were published in a report that was compiled by the Global Initiative Against Transitional Organized Crimes Group. Smart Jikan Gabriel reports.
According to the report by the Global Initiative Against Transitional Organized Crimes, armed separatist fighters have been more violent to the civilians they claim to be protecting. In 2020, the atrocities perpetrated by the separatist fighters were equal to that of the forces of law and order, while in 2021, they became more dangerous. For the Global Initiative Against Transitional Organized Crimes, in 2023, the separatist fighters caused 300 civilian victims. This was accompanied by imposed ghost towns. The reports say this move was to enable the separatist fighters to kidnap and demand for ransom and kill those who didn't collaborate with them. The Global Initiative Against Transitional Organized Crimes didn't only talk about the actions of the separatist fighters, but also that of the government forces, which they blamed for using force against innocent civilians at the early stages of the crisis. Due to the force, it led to the death of more than 1,600 civilians between 2017 to 2023. According to the report, whenever accused of atrocities against humanity by non-governmental organizations like the Human Rights Watch, the Cameroonian military always defends itself, saying their target has never been the civilian. The report states that the only act that has been accepted by the state forces of being responsible is the Ngabu massacre of February 14, 2020. In a whole, the Global Initiative Against Transitional Organized Crimes says between 2017 and 2023, the separatist fighters have left 2,600 victims in the Northwest and Southwest regions respectively.
And now we take you to news out of the country. First to neighboring Chad, where some Chadian opposition parties say they will boycott the legislative election in that country that have been scheduled for December 29 because of what they term irregularities. Meanwhile, over to Sudan, at least 23 people have died and some have been injured in an army airstrike. Details of our foreign page roundup with Cedric Chakutu.
Sudanese army airstrikes have killed at least 23 people and injured more than 40 others in the south of the capital, Khartoum. Saturday's airstrike targeted the main camp occupied by paramilitary rapid support forces in southern Khartoum, hitting the central market and a nearby residential area. Traders, shoppers and local residents were among the victims. The rapid support forces have been battling the military in an 8-month civil war that has claimed up to 150 lives and placed a fifth of Sudan's population. Elsewhere in Chad, about 15 opposition parties in Chad will boycott the upcoming legislative, provincial and municipal elections. The groups have notably denounced a corrupt electoral register and a lack of guarantee that the elections will be fair. The polls are scheduled for December 29 and hopeful will be allowed to submit their candidacy between October 19 and October 28. Sunday, October 13, the opposition parties which have not taken part in the transition and do not hold seats in institutions called on Chadians to enforce an electoral blockade.
And this note in sports before we take you to the second part of the news. The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon today defeated the Harambee Stars of Kenya again, this time around by 1-0. Winner this Monday against Kenya 1-0 in the qualifications for the African Cup of Nations 2025, thanks to a goal from Eno. In the 63rd minute, the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon obtained their qualification ticket for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations to take place in Morocco. In six games at the head of the Indomitable Lions, Mark Breeze is still at the top somehow. The match against Kenya today marked the Belgians' 6th match with Cameroon since taking office last April, with this 0-1 victory over the Harambee Stars of Kenya. And that does it for the first part of the news, viewers. Thank you for being there. But don't go away. Talking Points comes up next. Welcome back, viewers. Today we will be talking health. We will be talking about cancer, especially breast cancer. And our guest tonight is a medical practitioner. She is Professor Charlotte Chente. In fact, she is a gynecologist and also an obstetrician. Thank you so much, Doc, for accepting to be our guest and talking point tonight, so we can talk about our health, especially what concerns women, to be more precise. It is the month of October, dubbed Pink October, and dedicated to handling cancers, especially breast cancer, which seems to be the most common. Dr. Charlotte Chente, can you tell us what vital information we must know about breast cancer?
Breast cancer is the first cancer seen among the women. And even if you take all the cancer in men and women, breast cancer is still the #1 cancer in Cameroon and all over the world. So it is very frequent, and also when you look for some statistics, they will say 1 out of 8 women will have breast cancer in their lives. So it's so common that we decided, worldwide, it has been decided that October should be dedicated to the sensitization, counseling of every person among this very frequent disease. Also, we have to know that breast cancer is the first killer of the cancer. That means that if you take the mortality of the mortality of all the cancer, the breast one is the very first, worldwide and also in Cameroon. In Cameroon, for example, Globocam concerning statistics describe that breast cancer represents 21.5% of the whole cancer, of the cancer of women and men. And it causes mortality. The mortality represents 18% of mortality of cancer. So when you know that in the body we have a lot of cancer also, you can have cancer of the lung, cancer of the liver, cancer of the skin, all those type of the cancer, breast is the first one. So it's very important to know that.
Now, doctor, let's focus more on breast cancer. How can breast cancer be detected, and how long does it take for symptoms to be visible?
Breast cancer can be detected 3 ways. We have 3 ways of detecting it. Either we advise women to do self-examination of their breast, monthly self-examination of the breast. Once a year, you go and see your consultant or your doctor. He examines the breast. This is the second way. And then the third way is radiological exams that we can do when you are age 45 years or over. That is, you can do a mammography and echography for early detection. We notice that all those tests that we are doing, either the self-examination of the breast or the clinical examination by the doctor or the mammography or echography, is for early detection, because we don't have chance, like we don't have lucky, like with the cervical cancer, where we can detect the precancerous lesion. That means that you don't detect the cancer, but you detect the lesion that can lead to the cancer. With the breast cancer, we detect early, and then when we detect at early stage, the patient can be cured. So that is really why we are sensitizing, because late detection of the cancer will lead to death.
And now, Professor Charlotte, what are some of the risk factors, since cancer seems so common these days? And we might also want to know if genetics, is genetics a great or huge risk factor to cancer infection?
Of breast cancer, I can classify it as modifiable or non-modifiable. That means risk factors that we can act on it, or those we cannot do everything. If you take the non-modifiable one, that means that, okay, it's just I don't have something that I can do. I have those risk factors, I just have to follow my breast. We have the genetics factors, hereditary and genetic factors. Some people are born from mothers that have mutation in their genes. There are known mutation, we call it breast cancer antigen 1 and breast cancer antigen 2 mutation, that increase the risk of developing breast cancer. It's not that every person with the mutation will develop the breast cancer, but those who have that mutation have an increased risk of developing breast cancer, and even developing breast cancer at a younger age. So you have those mutation genetics factors or hereditary factors. We also have our natural hormonal history. You know that a woman is a woman because she has some hormones that are different to the male hormone. And those hormones are estrogen or progesterone. So when you have your puberty so early and then menopause very late, you are exposed for a long time to your normal hormone, and it increases a bit your risk of developing breast cancer. So you cannot choose it to have early menopause or late. Usually it's natural. And then also, if you have had a breast cancer on one side, you increase your risk of having another breast cancer in the other side. We also have some benign disease of the breast, like fibrocystic mastopathy. That is cystic degeneration of the gland, which increase the risk of having breast cancer. So those are factors that you cannot act on, a non-modifiable one.
Thank you so much, Doc or Professor, for those explanations. Sure, they are helping somebody out there. Before we go, Prof, our lifestyle can also play a great role on cancer infection. What are some of those aspects of our health we must look out for?
There are some factors on which we can act, like having obesity. You can try and say that, okay, no, I will try myself to do my best, do sport, reduce what I eat, and not stay obese. So you have obesity, you have eating much fat, okay? You have also inactivity. You have inactivity, so I can decide to do my sport. It's advised to do three times a week activity so that you reduce your risk factors. You have taking of alcohol, much alcohol, and smoking, a lot of smoking. It will increase your risk. You have also the pollution. You know that in our environment there are a lot of pollution, okay? But if maybe the government decides to say, okay, those cars who are very old cannot walk up, or those who are creating some industry, they should go far away from where people stay. If you are dealing with substance to go and do your work in the farm, you have to. There are pollution. That is even one thing that increase the risk, the frequency of cancer nowadays, that we can act on.
Thank you so much, Professor Charlotte Chente Epus-Ngefak, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. It's being October, and Equinoxe Television has as duty or responsibility to inform our viewers on cancer infection. So next time we'll be talking about cancer treatment. Thank you again, Professor, and hope to have you some other time. Viewers, thank you so much for always being there. We have come to the end of this edition. Our programs continue. Equinoxe War comes up live from Douala. That will be in about 30 minutes with Serge Alongo 2. And the news in the French language with Julien Beth Bissai comes up at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now, and see you again tomorrow, God willing.